Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we are back with Snapshot 24w19a. Now once again it's released on a Friday, which I'm not too sure why they've done that 2 weeks in a row. I wonder if Fridays is now the new Snapshot day, or if this is just something temporary, while the Mojang team are probably busy with other things. But let's jump to the changes, as there are quite a few related to Mace, performance, and a few other things. So let's first of all cover the Mace changes. The Mace attack damage has been changed. In the patch notes it says it's been changed to 5, but in-game is 6, so I'm not too sure what one is correct. And it also says the attack speed has been changed, and that is intentional. I really thought that was a bug, because it is so slow in attack speed now. But I also think that doesn't really matter, as attack speed is only when you're attacking a mob. You can still deal damage while falling, and you don't really need to hit that often. But it seems like this attack speed is intentional, and the attack damage in the patch notes it says 5. I'm not too sure what one is correct. I'm guessing 5 because Bedrock Edition is 5. They did also increase the durability, so if I just punch a husk, there we go, you can see the durability is now 500, whereas before it was 250. They did also make a change to density. Density is now 0.5 damage per level, whereas before it was 1 damage per level. For every block you fall, you will now deal 0.5 damage for every level of density you have on your mace. They did also make these damage changes to the mace. For the first 3 blocks fallen, it will now deal 4 damage per block. For the next 5 blocks, it will now deal 2 damage, and every block after that, it will now deal 1 damage. These changes were seen in Bedrock Edition 2 weeks ago, and have now been moved over to Java as well, so it seems like these are permanent changes. Once again, this doesn't nerf the mace too much. It just means you have to adjust the height you fall from to deal the damage. And finally, density and breach enchantments are no longer compatible with each other. So if you have one or the other on a mace, you will no longer be able to put the other one on. If I quickly just show you, this one has density on, I can now no longer put breach on this mace. And this does also mean other damage enchantments as well are no longer compatible with each other, like Smite and Bane of Arthropods. Another change, Frostwalker. If you now have blocks turned to ice using Frostwalker, it will now emit a place vibration of 13 to a skulk sensor. So you can now basically detect when blocks are placed by Frostwalker. They have changed the copper bulb on and off sound to be one sound, so it will no longer play 2 sounds differently. It will now just play the one sound when it toggles on and off. And they have also added 4 new cave ambient sounds, which I can't currently get a hold of. But when you are exploring a cave, there are now 4 new sounds that could be played. Now quickly jump into the patch notes, because there has been some changes to chunk loading performance. And this is the changes. When reading an already generated chunk from disk, surrounding chunks are no longer unnecessarily loaded. This is also visible on single player world's loading screen. The new system has less memory and CPU overhead, so this means that loading chunks should be a lot better on PCs now. And then there are also some technical changes, which I'm not going to cover too much into, but the custom data component can now be specified as a SNBT string. The food item component has new fields, and that's using converts too. And that is once it's consumed, if the item will be turned into something. So this is used for suspicious stews, for when they turn into like bowls after you consume them, or honey bottles that turn into glass bottles. And then the registry decorated pot patterns has been renamed to decorated pot pattern. And then they have also removed some other things related to the MBT tag that was overhauled in 120.5. They have also added some new things for the enchantments, data driven. They have added a field trigger game event for effect types replace block, replace disk, and set block properties. And I think this is to trigger game event is normally used by skulk sensors to set off a vibration. And they have also changed some directories of tags, I think just to match them up with new versions, to remove them off plural. So tag items is now just tag item, and the same with most of them. They have added a new tag. This is fire aspect lightables, and this is blocks that you can light when your tool has fire aspect, and that's all candles, all cakes with candles, and campfires. And then they have also added a new damage type, which I'm not going to cover too much about. And then there are a lot of bug fixes. Let me just pick out some of the important ones and cover them. So the first bug that we're going to cover, Riptide. There was a bug where Riptide wouldn't work properly. You can now see that it works as intended. intended. There was also a bug where if you was to spam inside of a single player world, you could be kicked from the world, which I don't know why that would, but that is now something that has been fixed. And if you spam in your single player world, you should no longer be kicked for spamming. There was also a bug where if you had fences and you had carpets on top of these fences, and then you had a baby mob inside, so let's just grab a pig. If this pig was a baby and it was to grow up into an adult, there was a bug where they could glitch through fences with carpets on top. That is now fixed, and if they grow up, they will no longer be able to glitch through these fences. A bug has also been fixed where if you was to hit an entity with a mace and it was to do the knockback effect, if a player was in that radius, they wouldn't be knocked back. Well, it will now knock back players as well as entities if they are within the radius of the knockback zone. There was also a bug where maces enchanted with windburst don't reliably protect players from full damage. This is now fixed and players will always be protected from full damage by windburst. There was also a load of bugs related to item components, stackables. So if you was to change the stack limit of certain items, for example water bottles in dispensers, they would be reset. A lot of bugs related to that have been fixed, where if you was to change shulker boxes and things like that, then using dispensers or other sources of inventories would break that stack size. And also a lot of bugs have been fixed with the fire aspect, where if you was to, for example, punch a candle with a fire aspect sword underwater, it would light that candle. And there was also a bug where fire aspect could light lamps, anything that has a state of lit. So this means furnaces, copper lamps, smokers, and also redstone lamps. This is now fixed and it will no longer light these when hitting them. And then there was also a lot of bug fixes with enchantments not working as intended. Sweeping edge wasn't as consistent as it was before. That has now been fixed. Now, one other quick thing I want to mention, there has been some changes to the trial chambers in older versions. This isn't new, but there does seem to be new secret rooms that have been added. This room right here, which can only be accessed by breaking behind this bed, is new. Inside the last update, I was a bit confused because in the patch notes, there was a mention of empty chests that were added at entrances to rooms. And this is, I think, just to put spare loot inside of, as they have no other use at all. They are completely empty. And this centerpiece right here can also be different. It will rotate between a few different choices. This one right here is themed off the desert, but these changes were made in last week's snapshot, and I didn't really understand the empty chest part. But this entrance can also spawn with something unique in the center here. But these empty chests are pretty much everywhere in the structure. You can see there is a lot of them. Now this is quite a small snapshot, but don't expect to see much within these snapshots. It's the final changes until we probably enter pre-releases. I don't expect to see anything else major. But anyway, that is it for this video. If you did enjoy, do leave a like and subscribe. And I guess I'll see you guys in another one very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.